teacher's class, your teacher taught you algebraic fractions. You need to apply that. Okay? But now you are dealing with quadratic equations. Last year it was mainly linear equations, where you are applying your knowledge of algebraic fractions. So, for me, the way that I'm going to do this question might be slightly different to the way that you did it, but we should get the same result. So first thing, I need to factorize every numerator if it can be factorized, and every denominator if it can be factorized. But it's mainly the denominator. Okay, it's mainly the denominator. So I'll factorize all the two, except in this case, I'll factorize this one here, 5 minus x, I'm going to factorize it, and then I'll also factorize x squared minus 4x minus 5, so that I can be able to determine the LCD. The main concept is finding the correct LCD. If you can't find the correct LCD, a question like that will give you a hard time, right? So the first term, okay, I'm going to simplify it and write it as well, minus x plus 2. This is over x plus 1. Then the second term, since the denominator starts with a 5, and then there's a minus x, I can switch the 2 and then factor out minus 1. If I do that, this sign here will change from being a negative to a positive because of the denominator changing. Okay, so I can write this as plus 2x minus 4 over x. Now that will be x minus 5. Okay? And I think if I skip a step, I might confuse someone. So let me not skip a step. Alright, but the first term, do you understand what I did? Huh? Yes. Right? So here, let me rewrite it as it is and go back to the basics. So it will be minus x plus 5. Okay? This is equal to minus 5x minus 13 all over. Now I need to factorize that numerator. So I can write as x minus 5 times x plus 1. Okay? We're following that. Yes? Oh. I made the mistake. Okay. Alright, please never do what I just did. I did by mistake. I'm sorry for that. Now, this is important because this class here, the way you do your sum must be very unique to probably other classes. When you have got an equation here, okay, you have got an equation, right? Yeah, please you must bear with me because I had the talk as well, so it disturbs the flow of my mind a little bit. That's why I don't want to talk about the other issues. I want to concentrate on the math. All right. Because we have got an equal sign here, it's an equation. Because of that equal sign. You are not allowed to add any other equal sign. Okay, you are not allowed. An equation must have one equal sign throughout. Okay, so you don't put equal signs on the left-hand side. All right. So are we all clear here? Then, but we have got a question. Okay. Right, then from here now, since I factorized, I'm not done. I still need to simplify this so that it looks like that. Okay? So I have to factor out negative 1. If you don't deal with the denominator correctly, you'll never get the answer correct. Okay? So my next step is to write minus x plus 2 over x plus 1. Now, if I factor out minus 1, okay, so this will become minus x minus 5. Right. I should have written this, or rather done it in my head, but for the sake of avoiding confusion, we have decided to write it. So now I'm showing every step. So that by the end of this lesson, when you go out, you say, now I know what to do. Okay? So from here now, this minus here and that minus there will make the fraction a positive. Okay? So let's carry on. So we get minus x plus 2 over x plus 1. This will be plus 2x minus 4, okay, over x minus 5. This is equal to minus 5x minus 13 all over x minus 5 times x plus 1. Okay, right. Now when you get to this point now, let's find the LCD. Now to find the LCD, we do term by term. So we have x plus 1 here, we have x minus 5. Then here we have a product of x minus 5 and x plus 1. By now, you should know that the LCD is going to be the product of x minus 5 and x plus 1. That's the LCD. Okay? So, let's write our restrictions before we carry on as well. So let me go to the next page. And then, but we've got any question? Okay, so the next page, I'm going to rewrite the question. So it will be minus 2x plus 2 and minus x plus 2 divided by x plus 1. Okay, this will be plus 2x minus 4, okay, over x minus 5. This is equal to minus over the product of those 2x minus 5. Okay, whichever way you decide here, you can start with x plus 1 or you can start with x minus 5. It's the same thing. Okay, you don't have to stress whether to start with x minus 5 or x plus 1 is the same thing. So we are here now. Let's write our restrictions. Now our restrictions are going to be x cannot be equal to 5. Okay, x cannot be equal to minus 1. Okay, because if x is equal to 5 or if x is equal to minus 1, the denominators will become undefined. So we can't have x being equal to 5 or minus 1. Okay, now those restrictions are important because when you carry on solving the problem, if you get to a point where you get an x which is minus 1 and x which is 5, you should know that those two answers, either one of them is invalid or both are invalid. Right? So our LCD. Our LCD is x minus 5 times x plus 1. Okay? Now, to carry on, after finding the LCD, you should be very happy to find it. Start smiling. So, we multiply the denominator by x minus 5, the numerator by x minus 5. So, you end up getting minus x plus 2 times x minus 5. There is no need to write the denominator anymore, okay? Because after finding the LCD, we multiply every term by the LCD. So this will be plus 2x minus 4 times, now we have x minus 5, so obviously I have to multiply by x plus 1. Now, on the right-hand side, you have to be extremely careful now because of this minus here. That minus, right, let me just take you back to some basics. Yes? Can you what?
We have to write the restrictions.
Yeah, generally if you are dealing with algebraic fractions, when you are, yes, you must write those restrictions. Huh? Okay, sometimes you can be allocated a mark for the restriction. But I just want to take you to some basics of fractions. If I give you, I'll do it here, okay? If I give you minus 3 over 5, like this, right? Be aware that this is the same as minus 3 over 5, right? It's also equal to positive 3 divided by minus 5. They are the same, okay? The same thing. But when you're working with fractions, it's always better to make your numerator negative. So this minus here, be aware that our numerator is a binomial. So that minus affects the 5x, it affects the minus 13. So I can write that now as minus, open bracket, 5x minus 13. Okay. That's how you can deal with that minus. Okay, so let's carry on from here. Let me just check this out. Hopefully you what I wanted to say here. Right? So from here now use FOIL. That's grade 10 now. So everything we are going to be doing is a bit of grade 10. So we get minus x squared plus 5x, okay, plus 2x minus 10. Then plus 2x squared plus 2x minus 4x minus 4. On the right hand side, you have minus 5x plus 13. Right? Then, like terms now. Okay, 2x squared minus x squared, that will give me x squared. Alright? Then 5x plus 2x, that's 7x. 9x minus 4x, I'll get 5x. Right? Then I'll bring that minus 5x, I'll get positive 10x. Okay? Right? Okay? Right? Then the constants. Minus 10 minus 2 gives you minus 14. If you bring that positive 13, you get minus 27. Right? This will be equal to 0. Okay? Right. Assume that I didn't make any mistake. That's the equation that I'm getting there. And I doubt I did. My FOIL was fine. And then I simplified. Okay? Then we look at this equation. Alright, thank you. So we are here now. Now the next thing now is to simplify this. Okay? Well, I just want you to be aware that it's possible that you might not have been able to factorize it. Okay? I understand that because you need to have done other techniques in grade 11 of solving quadratic equations. Okay? Is it possible to factorize that trinomial? No, you can't factorize it. So, based on the knowledge that you have so far, you are supposed to stop here. Okay? You're supposed to stop here. Okay? But we are going to carry on. I'm going to use the quadratic formula, which I will introduce in the next few days. Right? So, I'm going to derive the quadratic formula by doing the next few days. The quadratic formula is x equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a.
It's not that hard, guys.
Okay? Come on, it's not that hard. Okay?
It's just substitution.
Right? Now, here, these constants b, c, and a, you get them from the equation. Right? So, our a is going to be 1, which is the coefficient of x squared. The coefficient of x squared is a 1. That's a. Then b will be equal to the coefficient of the middle term. That's positive 10. Okay? Please take note that I'm using the quadratic formula here. It's just extra work for me to solve it. But otherwise, you are supposed to stop here at the standard form. That's where you're supposed to stop. Because you are not going to be able to factorize the trinomial. Okay? Then C will be equal to the constant term, negative 27. Don't worry, you're going to be very good friends with this formula. Okay? You are going to be very good friends with that formula. Alright? Okay, so we have got that. Now let's substitute now. Please take note the formula has got a minus there. So our B is positive, which means we are going to end up having minus 10 there. Right, so let me move on to the next page. Then, but we have got a question. Any question? All right. whilst you are copying that, right, be aware that the expression, can you pay attention? Pay attention. The expression inside the square root, that b squared minus 4ac, it has got a name, it's called the discriminant, right? It is used to determine the nature of roots, which is part of your investigation next week. Okay? The expression inside the square root is called the discriminant. It is used to determine the nature of roots of any quadratic equation. By nature of roots, we are saying, are the roots real numbers or are they non-real numbers? Okay, but we'll talk about that later. It's another lesson. Actually, it's maybe 2-3 lessons on nature of roots. So we'll talk about that later on. All right. So I'm there now. Let's do the substitution. So we have x equal to okay. I'm going to derive this formula in the next few days. Okay. When I derive it, you understand it better. All right. So we are going to substitute now. So it will be minus 10 plus or minus the square root of 10 squared minus 4 times 1 times c, which is negative 27, okay, all over. Now, your a, okay, 2 times 1, so that would be 2. Okay? And by the way, also, those who do physical sciences, some of the things that we do in regular maths, we need them in physical sciences. Quadratic equations are important for maths, including your mechanics in physics. Right? So be aware of that. I know that sometimes because the maths teachers, the physical science, sometimes they don't bring the maths a lot into the physics. That can cause confusions, but you need to know that this is also important for your maths. For your physical sciences later on. Alright, so this is x equal to minus 10 plus or minus the square root of 100. Okay, that will be plus. Now 27 times 4, that will give me 118. Okay, that will be all over 2. Okay. Then we get x equal to minus 10 plus or minus the square root of 208 all over 2. Well, I'm going to leave my answer in set 4. Right? So is it possible to split the 208 into the product of the perfect square in the prime number? Huh? What would be the answer there? Minus 10 plus or minus? Huh? So it will be 4 square root of 13. Okay, all over 2. Right? We can leave our answer like this. I want you to be aware that it's not always that you get solutions of the quadratic equations that are real numbers, or rather that are rational. Sometimes you can get a solution whereby the answers are irrational, that is, they are in said form. So this is the solution. But you can convert it to a decimal as well. But I'm going to leave it in set form. So if I want to leave the answers in set form, it means I can simplify this further. Okay? The way that I'm going to simplify it is, I'm going to split that answer. Because of this plus or minus, it means that we have 2 answers there. Can you pay attention? I need your attention because you can't play with that whilst you're concentrating. Right? Alright. So let me take the positive first here. If I take the positive, it will be minus 10 plus or minus 4 square root of 13 all over. Sorry, I put a plus or minus. It's supposed to be plus. Let me remove that minus. Okay. I'm taking the positive first. I want to show you something here. Right. That can be simplified further because there is a common factor in the numerator. And what is that common factor? The 2, so we take out 2, then you get minus 5 plus 2 root of 13 all over 2. Then these 2 will cancel out. So the final answer for the 1, which is positive, will be x equal to minus 5 plus 2 root of 13. Okay, this is not the only solution. There are two, remember. So the one which is negative, okay, the one which is negative, I can write that as x equal to minus 10 minus 4 square root of 13 all over 2. If I simplify that, you get minus 5. So you get minus 5. If you get minus 5 minus 2 root of 13. So those will be your two answers in set form, right? You can convert them to a decimal if you want, but sometimes it can be strict that you must leave your answers in set form. So I'm leaving them in set form. That's why we did sets first, was we need that knowledge under quadratic equation. All right? Any question? Yes.
Is our investigation just going to be on the discriminant and stuff?
Yeah. Nature of roots is all about the discriminant. Okay. Then, but we have got any question? If you don't have any question, then I'm going to assume that even though some of you had struggled with this question here, I hope that the struggles you had have been clarified. I hope so. Okay? Okay. So can I move on?
No, you.
Right. So let's move on to the next question. Now, the next question